Hey, you awesome folks! Thanks for taking this journey of discovery with your guide, Keith Haney. You're listening to the Becoming Bridge Builders podcast, your favorite podcast for everything from racial reconciliation to education innovation, justice reform, and leading change in the 21st century. This podcast is for people who love to be challenged with difficult topics, but want practical solutions to solve these challenging issues. Becoming Bridge Builders makes change possible. Each week on the podcast, Keith invites innovative thought leaders to share how they are building bridges in their area of expertise. You will hear breakthrough ideas and concepts that are changing the world. He's featuring guests who are best-selling authors, leaders at Microsoft, entrepreneurs, leading educators, professors, lawyers, and so many more. Listen in to learn how you can be the bridge to the change you are seeking.
My guest today is Dr. Robb Kelly. Robb has an amazing story of how he successfully overcame addiction and helps others reach their potential. He works with his patients to improve the optimal performance by using brain spotting and other neuroscience coaching evidence-based approaches. He provides mentorship and guidance to aspiring entrepreneurs. He invests and encourages others to invest in startup ventures. He devotes countless hours sharing his expertise through conferences and workshops, utilizing others who've overcome the challenges associated with lifestyle change, habit formation, childhood traumas, startup obstacles, etc. He has created educational programs on business fundamentals. He also fosters a culture of innovation and responsible risk-taking. He shares his personal highs and lows as he struggles to overcome crippling alcoholism. In the November 2019 release of the book, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. We welcome Dr. Robb to the podcast. Well, Dr. Robb, welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
Doing great, my man. Good to be here. Hey, guys, great to see you.
Good to see you. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too, man. It's going to be good.
I know it will. I know we're going to rock and roll here. But before we jump into the other questions, I want to ask you my favorite question. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I ever received is stop caring what people think about you. And unfortunately, that wasn't until about 10 years ago when we worry what people think about us all the time. But I'm at a place now where I don't really care what you think about me. You either love me or you don't. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me. But yeah, and it's like a weight off my shoulder, you know? So yeah, that was it.
Well, and the funny thing is, I can care what you think about me, but it doesn't change anything, right?
Correct. Exactly. You know, I used to spend my time worrying about if people liked me. And, you know, at the end of the day, I used to walk into a room and go, does anybody like me in here? Now I kick the door down, walk in and go, do I like anybody in here?
That's amazing. That's true. It's also a good point. Do I like anybody in the room?
Yeah, exactly.
I have to put that on a t-shirt.
Yes, I can feel a t-shirt coming on.
Do I like anybody in this room? I love that. So, Robb, I'm curious, if you think about your life, who are some people in your life who served as an inspiration for you, or maybe even a mentor along your journey?
I met Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was back in 1978. He came to England to do some talks. Pompey and Iron had just came out, an underground movie, and I was bodybuilding at the time. So the organization in Britain chose me to go and pick him up from the airport, take him to the hotel and make sure he got to the show on time, which I gladly did because he was a hero of mine. And he was kind of the first person that set me off about mindset, because we were talking in a hotel. I remember saying to him one night, the bodybuilding is great, Arnold, but, you know, years and years from now, what are you going to do? And he said, my life's planned out and exactly what I'm going to do. And I said, well, please tell. Now, back in 1978, you could hardly understand his English, and it wasn't brilliant. I mean, so I said, okay, tell me. He said, first of all, I'm going to become the biggest, highest paid movie star in the world. Well, I nearly fell off the chair. It's like, that's not happening, unfortunately. But what's number two? And he says, I'm going to become a governor of a state, preferably California. Well, we laughed again because I thought you had to be born in America to be. And the last one, there's no way. I mean, there was just no. The last one was, I'm going to marry into the Kennedy family. Check, check, and check. And I
Wow.
never forgot that. Yeah,
I
the
would imagine
mind
you
is
wouldn't forget that. No, those are pretty like. Because I remember Arnold when he first came out. Yeah, his English was not best. I'm like, you're not really going to be a movie star. We don't know what the
no.
heck you're saying. But he did become a enormous star and governor of California. So and he married Kennedy. So yeah.
Yeah. It's I often think about that when I'm making a business decision or life decision. Is The mindset is phenomenal, and so I usually achieve everything I attempt. I've had knockbacks in the past, but these days, you got to have that mindset that whatever you touch shall work.
I love that. So let's get into what inspired you and motivated you to tell your personal story in your book, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking.
I was homeless many years ago. My marriage had split up. The authorities had taken my children off me, ages 1 and 3, and I became homeless. And I stayed on the streets for 14 months. I actually died on the streets twice, and they brought me back to life on the side of an old, wet, stinking road in the back ends of Manchester, England. Um, so I always swore to myself, if I ever got off the streets, I'm gonna I'm gonna eventually write a book. Well, you got to remember, guys, this is honest back in the 80s, it's just like nobody, you had to be an author to write a book. That was it before everything was so easy. So as I started to climb up the ladder, it was only about 5 years ago when people kept asking me, have you got a book out? Have you got a book out on the podcast? And I was like, no, I've not got a book out. And then I moved to San Antonio 4 years ago. My friends were like, you need to write a book, otherwise we're not speaking to you, jokingly. So I wrote a book, and I've got to tell you, Keith, it was one of the most healing things that I've ever done personally. It was absolutely, it healed them wounds that were still lingering in the past. But because I wrote the book, it put me in a different place. And I never seen my eldest for 30 years and my youngest, 28 years or something. But when I wrote the book, I finished the book, and God said to me, just chill. You've done great work, chill. And literally 3 weeks after I finished the book, I got a message on Facebook early in the morning, 3 o'clock, and it was from my daughter. I'd not seen for 30 years. And she said, Dad, I've seen you on TV. I don't believe what Mom was telling you about. Long text. Can you come over? I want to get back together, and I've got a great surprise for you. So, and you've got always wanted this for me. So within 3 hours, we're on a plane, and we get to our house next day, and I'm just trembling, I'm crying, I'm just feeling less than. And she opened the door unexpectedly, and we hugged and we cried, and then she grabbed me by my hand and she walked me into her living room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter.
Oh.
And so we got talking about, hey, I've wrote a book, and we don't know what to call it. And she said to me, why don't you call it The Last Thing I Said to You? And I said, John, I can't remember that. And he said, it was Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. And that's where it came from. So it inspired the title. We released the book. It did really well. And it's helped, thousands and thousands of people. Just watching my journey from homelessness to here is incredible. But I always tell people, what I did is humanly impossible. If you think you can do what I've done to homelessness to here, where I have 4 businesses, millions and millions and millions of dollars worth, you've got to have God's help. You cannot do this on your own. And that I had a huge spiritual awakening on the streets. It's the reason why I'm here. So that was the reasoning behind it.
Wow. How did a lot of people have drinking problems and they kind of don't want to own up to it? How did you know when you went from social drinking to it being a problem of being alcoholism?
Great question, man. Great question. Don't think I've had that before. So when I lost my children and became homeless, still didn't think I had a drinking problem. When I was on the streets for 14 months, still didn't have a drinking problem. But one morning, it was like a Monday, early morning, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's pouring down with rain. I'm stumbling across the back end of Manchester where the factories are. And I dropped down to my hands and knees. And I started to cry like a baby. Now, here's the deal. I wasn't crying because I'd lost my children and my wife and my houses and my parents. They won't speak to me, brother and sister. For the first time in my life, right there, I realized I can't stop drinking. And I remember looking up to the sky in the rain and my tears, and I was in the offices and warehouses. There was not a human being in sight. And I looked up, I was crying, I was sobbing, my stomach was aching, I was sobbing and sobbing. I looked up to the sky and I said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. 30 seconds, Keith, 30, 20, I don't know how long, seconds after I said that, the guy come around the corner. He'd missed his last Bible study home. He'd walked, a path that he's never walked before. He took a shortcut he's never taken before. He came up with me. And that's where my journey started.
That's amazing. I know a lot of people who have drinking problems and they don't understand the impact and the damage it does to the family. If you're wanting to give a message to someone who thinks maybe like you did that I really don't have a problem here, that I can manage this, kind of speak to them from the point of what that does to the relationships you have with your family and friends.
Let me tell you a little story. It's a true story. I've the family house got closed down. They weren't back in the house, and I moved into my parents. I lasted 4 days at my parents because the thing was no drinking. And my mum had cancer at the time, and apparently, she died a lot sooner than she should because worried about me and homeless. But I was there, and I was sneaking drink into my old bedroom. And my dad, he was a very quiet person, don't really hold a conversation. We could drive for an hour going to work, and he would never speak. But he opened the bedroom door, and this is what he said to me, Keith. He said, "You've got to go, son." And I go, "What do you mean I got to go?" He said, so he put some stuff into a plastic bag, and he walked me down the stairs. And I'm like, "Dad, it's like 11 o'clock at night, Dad. God, just let me stay tonight. I promise." And then he walked me to the door and he handed me my bag and he gave me like 10, 20 pounds, which is like $150 today, maybe. And he closed the door on me. And Keith, I hated that man. I hated him for doing that for me. That was the first time I got homeless. Many months ago, maybe 2 years ago, 2 years after that, I'm sat with my mom having coffee and my dad's in the bar with his friends having a drink. And I said, "Do you remember that time Dad threw me out?" And he went, "Yeah, I remember that." I said, "You know what, Mom? I've never forgiven him for that." What she said almost crucified me. She said this. She said, "Rob, 55 years of being married to your father, that's the only time I've seen him cry." And it hit me, man. We destroy relationship. We do nasty things to the people we love because half the time we're drunk and we don't know, and it's terrible. But one thing we do here is if we take a patient on, the family has to come on, not 1 day a week or 1 month, twice a week for 90 days, they come on and we deal with their trauma. But they have to be on board because they've gone through, most say the man's an alcoholic coming home 2 or 3 times a week and he's drunk and he causes a fist fight with mom and the kids see this. That is called PTSD, my dear. And PTSD will ruin, if not kill you. The alcoholic doesn't know. He's just doesn't know he's doing such harm. Every time you get into a fist fight or an argument with the wife and the children see it, it's affecting their adult life. We don't see that. So relationships are broken. Sweet relationships are broken, and you just do so much damage. So by doing your own childhood trauma work and the trauma work and what we've done through the years, realizes that I was like an infectious disease. Everybody got it. Everybody got contaminated by my infectious disease, which was alcoholism. And a few people didn't recover from that. So very painful.
Yeah, my dad had an alcohol problem, and what you just described was kind of like my life growing up. And you get to the point, as you talk about the PTSD, is I always imagined I'd grow up with no mom and no dad because either he was going to probably end up taking her out and then himself out, or both. And so you kind of lived your entire life on the edge of going, when am I going to be the one in the family who's got to take care of my younger brother? And so you live your life with that constant fear. So people say, why don't you just have a glass of wine or something? Like, no, I refuse to touch alcohol most of the time because I don't want to be that guy.
No. No, it's really bad, and it slips in really sneakily as well. From the moment I took the first drink, which is age 9, on stage in Liverpool, England, playing my guitar with my auntie and uncle. I had a musical family. I took that first drink there, never forget it. That was my downfall. It was just a matter of time before it all went wrong, because we have these self-sabotaging tendencies that are very, very strong. So when we try for something and we're almost there, we self-sabotage it or we relapse. And it was just a crazy cycle that I saw myself in. So after I got well, I tried to go back to everybody that I met and really just sit down with them and go, hey, do I owe you any money? Well, I remember the time I gave you $2,000. Can I please pay that off for $10 a month or £10 a month? Not one of them said no. And 90% said, don't worry, I'm just glad to see you well. And these were guys that literally fired me and hated me. We go on this different journey, but you have to go back and, look at your life because I affected a lot of people. Well, mostly bad when I was drinking, but good now. I'm making up for it. And I always said, Keith, that when I'm constantly working with people all the time, free of charge, all the time. When I came over here, my apartment got foreclosed on because I couldn't pay the rent, I couldn't pay the mortgage. Working people, and I knew that I was doing God's work because this guy called John, crazy story. But I knew one day he'd bring my children back. And so he did.
Wow. You talked about the journey you went on. You don't recommend because it was just that difficult. What were some of the challenges you faced as you tried to get your life back in order again and become sober?
It's really hard when you're on the streets because your dress, the beard, the unkempt, the always being drunk. It's just I wanted to die on the streets. I had no thought patterns of getting off the streets. It was crazy. But it's hard, man. I wouldn't wish this journey on my worst enemy. But what I will say is, looking back now with the work I do, my 14 months on the street was like a semester at Harvard University from what I learned on the streets. Start dialogue with somebody. If that journey is going to be, you've got to be ready. You really got to be ready. And then one of the reasons I still do this at my age, I'm 63, I could have retired years ago, but I want to help that guy. I want to be your Derek who walked around the corner, to try and encourage you to try and get help, not with us, just any help to move you forward. Because once you get on that help with somebody who knows what they're doing, alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made, people freak out. Don't forget we're neuroscience experts. And they don't see any way out, man, because we don't want to sit down with somebody and tell them what we're going through, that you're failing, you're an alcoholic and you can't stop drinking and your children hate you. So we don't share that. So the stress of carrying that and the burden of carrying that secret becomes very, very heavy. And, there's only a couple of ways you're going to go down with that. One of them is what I did. And then secondly, is to step out of that shadow and step into the sunlight of the spirit. And God will lift you up higher than you've ever been, man, ever been. I've got everything back a million times. Everything. Because I work hard with people. 25% of my work is pro bono. Every single therapist and coach in my business, and we have 5 offices around the world, has to carry 2 pro bono patients that God sent us. And if we don't do that, he'll take all this away. Keith, you know this.
Yeah.
I've always got to be up there doing what I do. And I'm the loudmouth one. I'm the one that says that things that everyone else is say. And I'm that guy, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm the guy that I'm not going to sit down. What have I got to lose? And people don't understand this. Alcoholics and addicts have 2 lives in one lifetime when they get well. Is that I messed the first life up. I'm not going to mess the second one up. I mean, I signed an office deal in Dallas for $1 million, Keith, about 6 years ago. My staff was freaking out. And I'm like, how do you sleep at night? I'm like, listen, what do you not get about dying on the streets? What do you not get about they can't do anything to me that I haven't already done to myself? So we're going to take risk, guys. We're going to move forward, calculated risk. And that's the way I look at life today. Is like when people see me, they go, oh, you've got a lot to lose. If you do this, it doesn't work. I got nothing to lose. I don't care if all this goes away tomorrow. A wise man once said to me, always have nice things around you, but nothing you can't walk away with in 10 minutes. And it's true. But my wife and my three English bulldogs, if you put me in a tent in the middle of a field where the homeless people are with my wife and the three English bulldogs, I'm happy then as I am now. And I wouldn't change my lifestyle. I still help people.
So tell us about your podcast.
So my podcast years ago was great. And then we come away from it because I was filming for a TV series that I was on. So we pulled away. And then about a month ago, we started it up, and we're having people like Gary Breckers on. He's a biohacker, he's phenomenal. And we're having the guy that sweeps the road around the corner from us. He's going to be on with his story. So it's called the Dopamine Hour. It's just an anybody podcast. You don't have to have followers. You don't have to, it could be Billy that sweeps the road. Brilliant. You have a story, and people need to hear that, So I don't like a dislike the Rogans of this world, but you can't get on Rogan unless you're somebody. We don't want to do that. We're not that guys, man. I think everybody's got a story. Everybody knows somebody who suffers from alcoholism and addiction. And again, what we do today is we don't just cover that on the podcast. We specialize in childhood trauma, depression, PTSD, alcoholism, drug addiction, Alzheimer's, and onset dementia. We cover a wide range. So usually what we do has affected somebody who comes onto the podcast. And it's just, I do what you do, it's 30 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes. Like, is that all? It's like people cannot concentrate after 30 minutes. And I know that your mind starts to wander, and it's just terrible. So we smash in for 30 minutes and we go away for a week.
Yeah, because you get beyond 30 minutes and all of a sudden people are like, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. It's true. A guy from Friends once told me, I was doing some work with him, and I asked him why they all pulled out of Friends. And he said the same as Seinfeld. He said the time's right. If you carry on, it becomes nobody watches it, then you become like a failure, and then they cancel you. So we want to go out on a high. It's kind of the same as me.
I love that. So can you share a story with someone your recovery program helped? You don't need to share a name, but just kind of the story of, because we like to hear success stories.
So there's that day with like 9,500 patients, success stories. And, so I'll pick one out, and you might guess, you might not. We get a call. We used to have a ranch in Dallas, and we're exclusive A-list people only, major actors, major musicians, major CEOs of corporations and banks. That's all we dealt with, one patient at a time. We took every 3 months. So we get a call off an agent in Cali, and he said, come over. I can't tell you who it is over the phone, but there's a guy here, needs your help. Would you come over? Would you take him back to the ranch, and would you stay with him for 3 months while you're getting well? So I said, well, we need to know who it is, so we can tell you. So we said, we'll take a gamble. So the bodyguard, me, driver's assistant, we bowled over there. We arrived, we're getting to LA jail. And we're there in a side room. And this guy comes in, he says, Dr. Robb, thank you for coming. And I said, yeah. I said, we're just waiting to find out who it is before we decide whether to work with him. He's like, what do you mean? You decide. This guy's worth a fortune. He's not now, but we can pay you a fortune. I don't care. I have to know if I can work with him. In come this disheveled man. He had handcuffs and feet chains, the foot chains, ankle chains. Wow. It's the first time I'd seen ankle chains. It was like, for me, it was like Hannibal Lecter. But it's like, what? You've got to be something really bad to have ankle chains on. Oh my God. And he pulled him in, and instantly we all recognized him. And he sat down and he said, I'm broken. My career, my movie career is down the drain. I can't do anything. I'm suicidal. And the judge wanted to put him inside for 3 to 5 years. That was it. They were sick of him doing antics. And so we went into the courtroom, and the judge started talking, and he said, Dr. Kelly, could you stand up? And I stood up. He said, I believe there's an arrangement where he's going to come over to you and da-da-da-da. And I said, yes, Your Honor. He said, I must warn you that if he goes missing, because he was great at that in the past, you'll be back in my courtroom. And I said, hell no, Judge. I'm not taking that one. No, it's not. Anyway, we come to an agreement. They took their handcuffs on. We put our handcuffs on. We stuck him on the private jet. We brought him back to Dallas, and we helicoptered him into the ranch. And we did intense subliminal work, psychology work, all this stuff. And I don't want to say cured, but we got rid of his addiction stuff and his alcohol stuff. But 2 weeks before he's going to leave, and I'm telling him every day, Keith, listen, you're going to be the biggest paying actor back again. Everyone's going to know who you are. You're going to be blockbuster movies. And I told him that often, that he started to believe it. So the energy around him was a huge movie star, bigger than you was before. And you were pretty big before. And just before he was going to leave, a couple of weeks, we got an envelope. It's like this thick at the front gate. Driver goes down, picks it up, brings it to me. I get it. It says it's for blah blah. So I take it in. I said, hey, this is for you. And he opened it and he took it out, and it was a script for the highest paid grossing movie in the world. And it's right up there again. And he sends us texts every month and stuff like that. And we've done huge white rappers. We take care of, and they become a huge success. We've worked with anybody who's anybody. It's just amazing, to see them. And then going from that to the other end is that we picked a girl up from a mom's house. The hospital has sent him home to die. And desperation, she called us. We went round. I literally had to pick the girl up from the couch, heroin. She was broke. We took her back to the ranch, and we worked pro bono, free of charge, with her for 3 months. And she got well. And the last we knew is she was working at a rehab center. And we're like, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. About 2 years on, I'm in a meeting, and she walks in. I go, oh my God, why do I know her from? Because I've got terrible faces. She sat down, and the meeting went on. At the end of the meeting, she stood up. And she said, I just want to thank Dr. Robb Kelly. Well, I nearly died because everyone's looking at me now. But I was crying because she told me that we had saved her life, and that she has 2 children now because of it. And it must have been 2 or 3 years after, I can't remember. She had 2 children, babies, and she owns 4 rehab centers across the country. And I just came out of that meeting, man. I sat in my car and I sobbed like a baby, because that's the stuff we're capable of doing today, and millions of others around that do our job. But that's me paid in full. I don't get involved in the money side of the business. I can't do that. But paid in full for me is seeing somebody recover and do extraordinary things in their life for the family and for them as well.
This work that you do is difficult. I wonder, how do you keep motivated when sometimes it doesn't work out like you hope it does? Because I'm sure everybody doesn't walk out better.
There's a handful of people, maybe 6 people it didn't work for. Here's our secret. We have an assessment. You have to pass an assessment to get into this program. And we've turned a lot of people down. $1 million checks we've turned down. So we have to be convinced that you're going to succeed and be ready. So when they come along, it's a almost 100% that they're going to succeed. There's lots of subliminal work there. We're not like any other company that dealing in the addiction world. We use lots of tools like 9D breathwork therapy and brain spotting and stuff like that. So the results are good. For those who get through the assessment but turn their back, I'm harsh, man. And some people don't like me for that. If you call me up and tell me you're going to have a drink, I go drink. And they go, what? You can't speak to me? Go drink or use or depressed or whatever you want to. There's nothing I can do. God's brought you here, man. If you leave that, I'm human. I told one guy, I wish I could tell you I'm this clever, but I'm not. See, this is my job, guys, to reach down for the gutter and pick the poor guy up who's dying of untreated alcoholism and lift you up to God as quick as I possibly can. That's my job. And the rest of the stuff, it's this, guys. That's all it is. It's like me doing God's work. You doing God's work when you come on. Pass it on to somebody else. Being kind every day, complimenting 3 people. I'm blessed enough to bless somebody monetarily every time I leave the house, All this stuff gets me up in the morning and gets me out to save another life. And and this is what this Courtney Davis, we turn down podcast every week. But Courtney Davis goes out, and she's been with us a long time, and she handpicks podcasts that she thinks together we save lives. And that's how we do it. You'll never hear me, come on, I want you to be a patient, come on down, we need work. I'm not on here to tell you about my business. I'm on here to tell you that you can do anything you want to do. And you've got to believe that, once the mind, so the mind over matter, mind is more powerful than the brain. The mind can plan the brain for a fantastic day. When our research we've done, when our energy brain, can't see it, just you feel, connects with another energy, okay, and we do our neural pathway, childhood trauma work, your DNA changes. you're not the same person. And that's what we're known for. I don't take any shit off anybody. I don't answer to nobody. I dropped my psychology license 2 years ago because they didn't like what I was doing, but we're getting people, wow, it's God's work. And I was said just before, like, I don't care what you think about me. I used to look at all the comments, Keith, oh God, he said that, he said. And what I learned over time is nobody that's doing as good as you or better will ever negatively comment on anything that you do, first of all. And secondly, I'm worried about what some guy says. And when you research him, he's living back at his parents, he's got divorced twice, he's got no life, and he comments on me, the guy living in the $1 million house and worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. 25% again was what we give back to the communities. But yeah, it's like I don't worry anymore, man. In fact, if any guys there have got haters, send them to me. We're good. We're good.
That's amazing. I'm curious, as you think about the recovery area that you serve in, how do you take what you do and maybe change the future of recovery? Because I think, like you said, so much of it is hit and miss, a lot of times miss. So if you could transform the alcohol and substance abuse recovery business, what would it look like in the future?
It's all about neuroscience. So we started studying neuroscience some time ago, before it was neuroscience, because I knew that something was here, not here, with an experience that I had. So neuroscience is the future, guys. Studies on the mind, find out as much as you can about the disease you have, because it is a disease. The hypothalamus, basal ganglia, they're the guys that we have no choice drinking and using in the end. And find information, get knowledgeable about, what's happening now and where this is going. Because the stuff we've done with neuroscience was a game changer for us. It really was. And this is why we're so confident. It's like, you've got to stop thinking about the alcohol. Alcohol, drugs, sex, food, porn has 1% to do with what you're going through. So 1% of alcohol equals alcoholism. That's what 99% is here. 99% is, if you knew how powerful the mind was, you would kick yourself, first of all, for not knowing sooner, and it would open your world. It's not hard to earn $1 million, man. Everyone thinks it is. It's some special secret. Do something you love. Do it with a passion. Don't care when you do it with a passion. I sometimes get almost aggressive sometimes when I'm talking about it because I love it so much. And don't be one of the guys that starts something and never finish. Make sure you finish everything. Be impeccable with your word. Be strong, be powerful, be a leader in the community is very, very important. When I had $0 and they foreclosed on my apartment in Dallas, 5 years after I was here or something, I kept doing the same thing. I kept showing up at studies. I kept teaching people. I kept working with people. I kept, all this stuff I was doing with people, because what God was saying to me is, you need more experience from where I'm taking you. So when I started studying neuroscience, everyone was laughing at me and going, what are you doing? The brain is the brain and the mind is the mind. There's no such thing as the mind. And I just knew there was something different because of an experience I had many years ago. So yeah, man, you've got to stand up. And so if you sat at home, guys, I don't care where you are, you can be a leader. If you're in a one-bedroom apartment now, lady, Mrs. Smith, and your husband's left you because he's an alcoholic and he's gone away somewhere, this is a turning point for you. This is a crossroads. I love people at crossroads because we start again and we take a better road than we did last time. So that's the deal that keeps me inspired. That's the deal that keeps me going. A lot of people say, you're sifted free, why don't you retire? And do what? Well, am I going to go buy a beach house and do what? I'll be doing this. My guys got on me now, financial guys. Are you ready to retire? 63 now. I said, if you ever say that to me again about retirement, I'm going to pull all my funding out of you. Because my dad once told me, Keith, he said, the day you retire is the day you die. And I truly believe that. So I'm never going to, I'll be 100 years back on your show when I'm 100. I mean, you'll be sat here rocking in our chairs and that's what it's going to be,
That's right. Of course, you can't stop, right?
No.
I do want to ask this question. This is my other favorite question from my guests. Thinking about what you're doing now, what you want your legacy to be?
I've been asked this a lot of times, and it's kind of not changed since day one. He helped a lot of people. That's all. He was kind. People don't see how much money we actually give away to where. Uh, we say 150 because we give that to people who suffer from alcohol addiction, but we're involved in lots of other stuff. It was a nice guy to help people. Because when you get to this level where you pull away from every other person doing this, that's why we have a 98% success rate. And the nearest one to us is a 9% success rate, is you kind of separate from that. And a lot of people are jealous. A lot of people are jealous of what I have, Keith, but they're not jealous of how I got here. That's the problem with society, So nice guy, he helped people. And before I get too old, I want 100-bed rehab in San Antonio for people that want to get well, free of charge, funded by governments or donations. And in that, we're going to have a place where you can get clothing. We're going to have a place where you can get all your government from the money. You can get housing with all these offices in this center where you can go and say, I'm homeless, but I need to go. And we'll find you a place to live with a small amount of rent. That's what I'd like.
I love that. Where can people find your book, Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking?
So it's on Amazon, guys. Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. It looks a bit like this. If you're strumming along, that's me wasted completely. That's my eldest daughter when I did a visit back to see her when she was about 4 or something. I don't know how much it is, but listen, on this show, if you get on and say, Reverend Dr. Keith Haney, and I saw you, Rob, if you send a message to me or Keith, I've got $5 away here that I'll personally sign to you and send you. I'll pay for shipping and everything. I'm going to send it to you on one condition. You pass this on to somebody else when you finish reading.
I love that.
Or it won't cost you a dime.
Where can people connect with you if they want to get in the program or know someone who needs to be in the program?
Well, if you're listening and not watching, guys, I spell my name with 2 B's. So it's ROBBKELLY.com is the website. Dr. Robb Kelly on any search engine in the world, and up I'll pop. Come join us. All social medias are out there. You can come and join, our happy family. And what I do want to say is, for parents that are listening right now who have children, and we call kids are like from anything from 2 to 22. That's struggling with addiction or mental health or depression, and you don't know where to turn, you call the number on the website and you say, I want some advice, and we'll pass you on. My wife's one of them. We have 3 people here, and they will talk to you all day long. You can call back 100 times a day, and we're going to guide you through this. It's never going to cost you a dime. We're going to guide you through it. We're going to help you. They probably won't come to us. We don't do that. It'll be placed somewhere where you can use as insurance, and you can get well in your area, but we'll do that. So yeah, always giving back, man. That's the key. So come and join us, guys.
Well, Dr. Robb, thanks so much for taking the time, and thank you for what you do, because what you do is so valuable in this space. Being someone who had that kind of in my life, it's a painful thing. It divides families, breaks families up, and it destroys relationships. It's like it could have been so much better if we didn't have the element in your life. So yeah, thank you for what you do.
Thank you, man. It's very kind. Thank you, guys.
Do you know that most entrepreneurs hit a revenue ceiling and have no idea why? They're working harder, spending more money, running more ads, but revenue stays flat. My friend, Dr. Noah St. John, calls this the invisible break. He's giving our listeners a free revenue ceiling audit to help you see what's really holding you back. You'll get a free 30-day membership to NoahBot, giving you access to Dr. Noah's 30 years of experience to help you reach your next level. But hurry, because there's only 50 available this month. So if you're tired of being stuck at the same revenue level and want to finally break through, get your free revenue ceiling audit at drnoahvault.com in the affiliate link that'll be listed in the show notes.